Andrew Polis from the law school at Case Western Reserve University says it does because the babies' lawsuits are less complicated than the ones coming from cities and counties, and they would just get bogged down in the system if they were all clumped together. There's also a cash component to the move.
They can't walk yet. They can't talk yet. They did nothing wrong.
Children potentially facing a lifetime of medical problems.
They didn't ask to be conceived. They didn't ask to be conceived to an opioid-addicted mother.
13 class action lawsuits, all of the plaintiffs' babies, clumped together with hundreds of other cases from across the country. Cleveland Judge Dan Polster handling pretrial for the multi-district litigation.
Judge Polster is very vigorously pushing for the parties to try to settle so that none of them would have to go to trial.
Today, attorneys for opioid-dependent babies asked a panel of judges in New York to break out their cases and hear them all together, creating a new multi-district litigation.
The lawyers who represent the babies certainly believe that the cases that they have against the opioid manufacturers, the pharmaceutical companies, are much easier to push through the system.
Law professor Andrew Polis tells me cities, counties, hospitals, and insurance companies will have a harder time recouping money spent to tackle the opioid crisis.
It's easier for the babies to win because they have an easier case.
Lawyers pushing for their own case tell me they want to create trust funds for the babies to cover the costs of continued medical monitoring and treatment. They believe this move will guarantee a bigger piece of the payout from the pharmaceutical companies, which are currently fighting the request.
If you're big pharma, the fewer fronts on which you have to defend, the better.
In all the lawsuits, Polis expects those companies to argue that opioids are effective and helpful when used as intended.
Certainly they're going to hang their hats on the FDA approval of the drugs.
Now, it's going to be a couple of weeks before the panel of judges rules on whether the babies' cases are going to be split off from the ones here in Cleveland. Meantime, they have encouraged the attorneys representing pharmaceutical companies to start negotiating with the families. I reached out to a couple of those facing lawsuits today and did not hear back. In the newsroom, Mike Brookbank, News 5.